Dear friend Jim Phillips, expedition members as we could round up at a time when it was convenient for most of us. We're missing two of them, plus a couple of the shore parties, which cannot be helped. But this is the reason that we're here today. On that expedition, we met another dear friend down at Starved Rock who greeted our expedition as they arrived on that historic spot on the Illinois River. White Beaver, our friend Hana, full-blood Native American who greeted us with a pipe ceremony, and it was an unforgettable moment for the expedition. And to start the proceedings off this afternoon, I would like Hana to come up and do the pipe ceremony for us.
Before he steps down, you should know this is Ralph Fries, the man that built the canoes for this trip.
Thank you, Ralph. Thank you. I'll be saying these words, which you probably won't be able to hear. But I start with the east, because that's where the sun comes up. And then that also is in the Winnebago Ho-Chunk tradition of beginning of life, symbolic. And then I'll be saying a few prayers to the south. That's where the sun follows the path as it goes across, giving us our nutrition, the grass, the fowl, us living people, the water, every living thing on the earth. All the food is coming from the sun, which we say a prayer for and ask the blessing of. And then I'll be going to the life cycle of this southern point is our green years. And then as we approach the west, it'll be our twilight years in the life cycle. And we like to think of the sun as going to rest when it enters the sunset stage. And then my final position will be the north. It's 4 points. That'll be the north. And the blessing of the north is of the snow and of the cold weather, which we need to nourish Mother Earth. We give a blessing to Mother Earth there. And in life cycle, symbolic of death. Well, of course, in the Ho-Chunk, Winnebago, we do. So I'm just repeating what they tell me, the elders. And then, of course, I'll come back and finish the circle, which we always work in a circle, in the east. So that's basically what I'll be praying for as I'm doing this. And also, during this prayer, I think of past memorials of like my dad and my relatives, and also the voyageurs, and I'll be saying some prayers in there for them too. And sometimes I ask the people who are here also while I'm doing this if they wouldn't mind saying their own personal prayer for something or for somebody from this pipe that goes directly to the Creator, the Earth Maker, Mauna, what we call him, the Great Spirit. So that's our message to him. So we believe that when the smoke goes up, it does connect with the Great Spirit. So if you say prayers while the smoke is on, I'm sure he'll hear you. So in that fact, I'm going to pray for the memory of Jim Phillips, who was terrific man, terrific gentleman to us. And he was always keeping us informed of the river and of the life around the river. And he told us about preserving all these little things that can't preserve themselves, the fish and the ducks and all those. He was very concerned about that. And he always kept in touch with our family. He called Betsy and me up every once in a while and tell us where he was, what he was doing as far as the Fox River was concerned. And we kept in touch with him that way. And when we heard of his passing, it was a shock because we just didn't expect it. But I'll say my prayers for him and of this gathering and of the wonderful voyageurs who I met some 26 years ago. Terrific memories. We do this to ask the Great Spirit to accept my prayer and my blessing. I'm saluting him. This time it's customary if the participants wish to speak. You don't have to, but they wish to say a few words, now is the time.
Need the notebook. And the glasses.
Jim Phillips, the optimist whose crusade to protect this fragile river for Fox. A crusade that was carried out on behalf of all of humanity, even on behalf of those who opposed him. He was, by necessity, an optimist. Otherwise, he could not have believed that his cause would finally prevail. I admire Jim. These past few years, when he lightheartedly faced his deteriorating condition, he taught me a lesson. Don't be deceived by those who make life look easy. They struggle no less to exist. They, however, are more adept at sleight of hand and brilliant at theater. For me, that was Jim. I was fortunate to be in Jim's canoe for our Joliet Marquette expedition. For long hours of paddling each day over the course of several months, I was regaled by his humor and calmed by his patience and easygoing manner. I was witness to an intriguing approach to life that was intense and yet seemingly laid back. Jim guided our canoe as though he were already familiar with the waterways we paddled. When we struggled our way back up the Mississippi, he had an uncanny ability to remember the slightest geographical detail that we had passed on the downriver trip. An inlet, and there were many. An island, and there were hundreds. A sandbar, too numerous to count. For me, all of these features were merely part of a repeating riverscape. Not so for Jim. He recognized each feature as unique, as a father recognizes each of his own children. Now, Jim has become one with his beloved river. Or maybe, as in some beautiful Indian legend, he has returned from whence he emerged. Maybe he has always been one with the fox.
Do I have to stand?
You haven't broken a hip yet.
I just wanted to share one of the experiences that we had on our 4-month journey. We were coming up the Mississippi, despite many people who thought we couldn't. And it was a hot day in July, and we had been paddling for 24 hours, no, it was about 12 hours, 10 hours. We had paddled up the river about 62 miles, no, it was 26 miles. And it was a long day, and it was a hot day. And by the time we got to our evening campsite, the Joliet canoe was already there. They had set up everything because Phillips was in the back and he could really make that canoe move. We kind of came in later, and I was really angry that we had taken such a long time to get up this 26 miles. And when we pulled into this little inlet, this boat landing, the first guy in the water was Jim Phillips. And he came in and he just grabbed each one of us, and he was exultant in what we had done. He said, "You realize that you have paddled up the Mississippi for 26 miles. Nobody has ever done that." And even though I was really not very accommodating to his exuberant welcome, it has, over the years, really sunk into me that there are two ways of looking at things. You could look at things from a kind of a negative point of view. You could look at things from a very positive point of view. And Jim really had the positive attitude that day. And there's been many other times where I haven't felt very accommodating to the situation. But his words keep coming back to me. And his exuberance in just what we had accomplished that particular day has always struck with me, so I'm really very grateful, not only for the 4 months and 25 years since then that I've known him, but for that particular moment. It's really stuck with me as a lesson in life.
We were in Starved Rock when Hana greeted us. They had a big banquet for us up at the lodge, and we went up to the lodge, and there were all the Illinois politicians. I think the governor was there, and a lot of people spoke that day. And then Jim spoke, and rather than my saying anything about Jim, I'm just going to read you in Jim's own words what he said to that distinguished assemblage that day, and made a lot of politicians very nervous. He spoke in his character as a voyageur, and he stood up and he said, 300 years ago, I came down these rivers with the rest of these men, and as I paddled down these rivers, I saw the richest and most beautiful land that God had ever created. But something has happened since the time we saw the river, and since the time you see the river now. And as a voyageur who has seen the same trees that now look down on you, I might come back and ask you some questions. I would like to know where the beautiful prairie has gone that I saw when I came through here 300 years ago. I can remember the prairie grass as tall as a man on horse, and that it hid our canoes. The flowers that came in profusion that I cannot even describe their beauty. There is not 1 foot of it left. What have you done with it? The 5 feet of topsoil that was so rich that you could turn it under and grow crops to save the world from starvation. How did you lose it? I saw it go down the river as we went down. And when I came down 300 years ago, I saw the great cultures as they lived along the riverbanks. And as they met us, they showed us their history, their potteries. They showed us their sacred burial grounds. Where have they gone? Why have you not passed the laws to protect these sacred grounds? Why must we lose all of this? I have fished in the rivers, and I've taken the pickerel and the pike. I've seen the walleye and the bass, and now I cannot even drink the water. What have you done to it? I breathed the air that was as clear and as pure as the morning breeze, and now my eyes water as I travel past your civilized cities. Why do you do this to yourselves? Why do you allow it to happen? I see some good things. I see the little children. They are so strong and happy. But what are you going to give them if you continue to do these things to your air and your water? Why don't you save your history? Why don't you allow your children that you gave life to grow up with the types of beauty that I once saw? There is precious little of it left. I will paddle 3,000 miles to ask these questions. And when my paddling is done, I will come back to you I will ask these questions again. And I'd like, shortly before he passed away, my friend Howard Platt and I went to visit Jim in the hospital. And Howard, would you come up and tell the story of the three-legged fox?
Oh. Jim and I have been trying to make a motion picture of his life for a long time. Maybe we'll get it done. I don't know. We've been out in Hollywood doing various things. And after his leg was amputated below the knee, his right leg, as many of you know, he was very ill. He was a little bit drugged when I talked to him, but I said, Jim, a three-legged fox is just as dangerous as a four-legged fox, and he said, even more dangerous. So it's my intention to continue to get this done, to get the word out there, and if when this is over, if you want to gather around that little Volkswagen, I have a conversation queued up, and I'll open all the windows so you can hear the man himself talking about this Fox River. Thank you.
I was the other stern man in the other canoe. I wasn't with Jim, but
You still
I
did a
liked
good job.
I liked him right from the beginning. I'll change it. The first night when we were all out camping in the woods, and this was before the expedition, when we were all just getting to know each other. It was rainy, stormy. It was like this, but it was rainy, and we had the canoe over on its side, the tarp over that, and we were all sleeping under this tarp. Well, in the middle of the night, I had to go to the washroom. So I woke up and I looked over one direction, and there were a lot of bodies. And I looked the other direction, and there was just a mountain. And either way, it was going to be pretty tricky. So I just sort of stayed there for a while until I just couldn't anymore. So I looked again, and I figured, well, I don't want to wake up all those guys. It's better to have one guy mad at me than just, than all these people. I looked over at this mountain, and I put my arm down, and I reached over. The tarp is right on my back, so I had to kind of reach over, and I'm straddling him, just like this. Oh my God! And he's snoring, and I started to laugh. And he woke up, and then he started laughing, and I lost all my strength, fell on top of him, and we're in the middle of the tent. I'm riding on his belly, laughing. And the next morning, he woke up and he says, I don't know if I want to be on this trip. He says, why? He says, well, I woke up in the middle of the night with a troll on my stomach. And I've loved him ever since. And I'm not here to say rest in peace, because we had a long talk about that one time, and he says, I don't think I could. They always say rest in peace. I don't think I could do that, and I don't think he can either. I think he's here and always will be in woods, rivers, and lakes. Anyway, that's only one story. I changed it to be nice.
Lee was right. Those that knew Jim, he was a big man. I used to call him the guy with the ham hock and 5 bratwurst attached. Everybody'd ask, well, how come he went on the trip? And I says, his mother kicked him out of the house for not taking the garbage out. We enjoyed each other. We were friends. We had a great time together. He was like a brother. But we always used to pull a few things on each other. We were coming down to Wisconsin, and his stern line on the canoe was dragging out behind him. Lee, Chuck, And Dean, who isn't here, we managed to get the canoe up close enough, and I grabbed the stern line, and we all quit paddling, and I just hung on. All of a sudden, you could see this head. As soon as he saw what I was doing, he grabbed it and yanked it back, and that stern line was never in the water again. We had fun, we enjoyed it, and he'll always be with us.
The champion of the environment is laid to rest in the place he fought so hard to protect. The man known as the Fox was a legend in his own time, leading assaults on corporate polluting of the Fox River. Our Chris Trinkman joins us live with more. Chris?
John, his name is Jim Phillips. He was a hero to environmental groups, the enemy of big business. He was among the early activists to engage in ecolage, a form of sabotage targeting polluters. Today, he forever becomes part of the river he helped save. Jim Phillips once said his funeral would be packed with corporate executives who would make sure he was really dead. Instead, using native traditions, the fox was returned to the place he loved most. For decades, most never knew who he really was, but word spread quietly among his most trusted.
The people at church, almost everybody knew it, but they just didn't talk about it. And I think part of that was because in the beginning, he probably could have gotten into legal troubles over what he was doing.
Phillips climbed deep into sewage pipes and clogged them, always leaving a message signed The Fox. He capped off smokestacks and dumped pollution into company offices. He became the servant warrior of Mother Nature herself.
He was kind of a Robin Hood, a vigilante that people came to look up to.
Some companies spent millions to clean up their act. And while Phillips becomes part of the environment he cherished and protected, his spirit was always one with the river.
It was so beautiful and so serene. It just instilled a sense of peace in me. So I just took the name Fox from that aspect. And I said, I will be the animal and I will protect this river to the best of my ability.